In today's Casterton Vintage video, we're taking a look at the land drainage section at the 2025 Carrington Rally. As you might imagine, when you live in the Lincolnshire Fens, you need to keep the fields well drained, and over the years that's created some wonderful pieces of equipment. There's much more to be seen at this show, and we'll cover it in the future videos. We took along this McCormick Deering peg drum and International Harvester 634 tractor as part of the International Harvester theme of the show. We also brought along this International W6, and it's going to be driving the peg drum. It looks like that'll do, so let's get it fully unpacked and give it a proper run. We're exhibiting on the Peterborough Farm Machinery Preservation Society stand. The centrepiece, in line with the drainage theme, is this 10RB dragline. The show's covered in all kinds of drainage equipment, so we'll take a walk round and look at some of the static exhibits before we get into the working. I've seen ditch cleaning devices like this before, and they always look a bit complicated, but I think they'd be better than a spade. The catalogue tells me that this is a Howard rotor digger. We'll see it working in just a few minutes. And this is a rare and unusual Henderson trencher. It's a miracle that this pipe trailer survived. It's got a Fordson major back end, a gearbox on the front driven by a PTO. You carefully select your ratios according to this chart, and you've got full drive on the back axle of your trailer. And it's time to see if this Henderson trencher's any good. It winds itself along by a winch on the back just behind the driver. The cable runs underneath and forward to a suitable anchor, in this case an International tractor. Now we've been joined by another Fordson Model N, this time with a Howard trencher. It soon becomes clear that the Howard's a fair bit faster than the Henderson. Take a good look at the completely different line of thought between the Henderson and the Howard. It looks like the Howard's using quite a bit more power, but don't forget they're both on a Fordson N, so we've not got much power to play with. The team are now going to demonstrate how to lay a few tiles in the trench. And now we've moved from the 1940s to the mid-1950s with this later Howard trencher on a Fordson Major. We've also got the county full track with the Bray angle dozer, and we're going to fill some trenches in. I don't think you'd want to climb on and off this many times in a day. By the time we get to the mid-1950s, the system of draining is getting a little bit more sophisticated. We've actually got some sighting poles. And here's the earlier Howard on the Fordson Standard back at the beginning for another trench. The Major's not looking too happy. Smoke coming out the exhaust and steam coming out the radiator overflow. I think it's time it had a rest. When a landowner's spent a lot of money on having tile laid with machines we've just seen, the next thing he's got to worry about is making sure that the water gets to that drainage system. And this is a very early mole plough, designed to channel water into the main drainage system. First they pull the winch rope out, and then they winch the mole plough back to the tractor. Next we'll have a go with this track marshal and see if we can pull the mole plough direct without the winch. The next tractor to have a go on the mole plough is this field marshal, and it's got two options, either direct plough or winch. Well, it's hard work, but there's plenty of grip. The heavy old winch is helping out with that, no doubt. I wanted to capture this piece of video to show how simply the mole plough is designed to release itself and lift out the ground. And next it's time to demonstrate the field marshal's winch. Also on show was this modern drainage setup. Of course, in a modern world this is all GPS controlled. You would survey the field first with GPS and then just dial it into the machine and away you go. I've only ever seen gravel used as a backfill before, but in this particular instance they're using shells. We'll leave the working field for now and we'll head back to the rally field and watch the grand parade of drainage machines. This machine's pretty impressive even today, so it must have been quite something in its day. The dual track 120, complete with a Brough drainage plough. Just take a look at this massive hydraulic winch mounted on the front. And so, to finish off, we'll return to the working field just one more time. We thought we really ought to try the International 634 on the mole plough. Well, it's going okay, so let's try a higher gear. I think what we really needed for best performance was some wheel weights. And after we tried the two-wheel drive, we couldn't resist having a go with the all-wheel drive as well. Well, that's it for this time. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be back next week with another aspect from Carrington Rally. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all again very soon.